Yo, check the mic, 1, 2, Beacon is the name. Lights up the city, ain't playing no games. Joel Simmons and Michael Seville, the vision is clear. Dropping knowledge, conquering all of your fear. Beacon, that's the sound of the future. The main hosts are here, they built the whole structure. Community strong, we rise from the ground. The Beacon power up, yeah, time to look up.
All right, thank you.
What's going on? What's going on, people? We are live. It is Community Beacon. It is 4 o'clock. It's Friday. We come to you each and every Friday. I am Mike Seville.
Yeah.
One of your co-hosts.
I'm doing it. I'm clapping my hands for the great Michael Seville.
And I appreciate
the one
it.
And only. The one and only.
Let me take it in.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. I appreciate it, brother. Of course, on the other side of the screen, we got the energetic today, Joe Simmons of the Tenacity Foundation.
Yes,
what is going on, brother?
Oh man, right now, what's going on is I'm being very observant. Palm Beach Mike in the Community Beacon is shining in that TV screen, and I'm liking it.
I appreciate it. I don't know what to say. Let me open this up a little bit. Let me make this up. Yeah. Thank you.
I like that, man. Got the beacon in the background too. The drop is nice for real. Yeah.
Had some extra time on my hands with as I'm starting to create these standards, man, which is awesome, and I can probably get into that, but able to create a lot of this stuff with AI now, right? And I still have Chat GPT, and if anybody's watching this show, like, kind of, chime in if you have, or if you haven't actually started kind of, I don't want anybody necessarily to do a super deep dive into AI, but at least get like a taste of it and keep your finger on the pulse of it, because it's such a powerful tool that you can utilize. And there was a point where, and it was interesting, I had a conversation with Chris recently, and I was like, oh man, I figured this thing out. and I think I did it just on time with AI, in that just keep it. Oh, I'm trying to stay on the screen. All right, that's a little better. It's how much you can actually. Oh, Joe, we lost Joe, but I'll keep going till he jumps back in. Is how much time can actually be spent just dealing with this, with the breadth of it, like excuse me, not the breadth, the depth of it. There's so much, and right now, what they're calling it, I guess the term now is AI slop. So there's a lot of things going on in regards to people who are, attempting to sell you this and do that, and it's like we're so at the beginning. I'm glad to have you back, brother. We're such at a point in it where it's the beginning, especially public facing. I'm sure a lot of people, which I've kind of been around, because I'm in the AOA community, the Art of Accomplishment community, with Joe Hudson, and a lot of the people that he deals with are in that space. He's in that area, California, dealing with a lot of that, the Claude people, Anthropic, excuse me, and also as well as Chat GPT. He actually had Sam Altman on his show. So those people are so far ahead, and there's so much coming out of it, and you can just see, like, a lot of these people are so burnt out. And I don't know if anyone's noticed, like, the amount, how fast this thing is progressing. Like, this is not Facebook and Instagram, which over time it got to where it was. I remember Instagram back in 2011, 12, 13, and we were just on there kind of getting acclimated to it. And then I want to say around 14 to 16, I would say, is the ads came along. And even that, I would imagine for most people, it was such a rapid pace movement. This AI thing is so crazy is that you can turn it on in the morning. I'll speak for Claude specifically. You can turn on Claude in the morning, and by, say 8 o'clock in the morning, and by 12 o'clock, they've done something different to it. They've updated it. It'll tell you, press this button to update it. And almost every other month, not every other month, it's almost every month now, they're coming out with like some kind of new uh layer to it, right? At one point it was Sonnet for Anthropic, then it was Opus, and ChatGPT is the same way. It was like this point oh, now it's at whatever point. I don't even know what it is now. If I was to look at where ChatGPT is, and this is happening so rapid, but there's people in the background that are actually a part of this, and they're operating at a level to where essentially they're getting burned out. And
Mm.
in my mind, I'm like, well, if they're getting burned out, I can imagine us that don't even really quite understand it getting into it. I had a friend saying like at 3 o'clock in the morning they were working on some kind of a cloud code, or doing vibe coding at and I was like, what was it about? And I'm not gonna say his name, but I still think it's funny. Not matter of fact, I will say it was Chris. Chris is like, man, I made this program on business cards. And I'm just like, on business cards. But it's just that you can get so caught up in this system, and it's so intuitive. And it's interesting
Mm.
because everybody's system kind of speaks like them. Like, in order for you to actually get a blank slate, you almost have to log into somebody else's thing and get the information, because it's so intuitive as how it answers you and how it relates to you and so on and so forth, that you can actually start going down that stream. And it's not, I think for me right now, the difference
Mm.
between it and social media and this new, which essentially is this new web, essentially, is that social media, you'll get into the algorithm and it'll give you feedback. This is giving you personal feedback. Ask him. This is giving you personal feedback immediately. So it's like you don't even necessarily have to wait for it. It's already like you can wake up at 3 o'clock in the morning and just start going into this thing. So I think, especially for people who are getting into like this one-on-one thing where you don't necessarily have to move things physically, is more of like a mental space, that it's
Mm.
going to be interesting how that changes. um but yeah, so my advice to most people is like, listen, just be careful. This new piece of technology that to me is even more addictive than social media. And we knew it was coming, so just to be prepared for it. And but Claude, like I said, I'm working with both Claude and Chat GPT because I like to kind of go back and forward with it. But Claude has some awesome. Claude Cowork has been, I mean, insane. I mean, it's an executive assistant if you can kind of uh if you get the right, if you understand it. I mean, it does everything. It'll respond to emails, text messages. It'll go into your CRM and make the changes on your CRM. If you have voice, you can start to make phone calls probably using it. It's not as reliable, and but it's getting there. It's probably further than where I thought it would be at this point in time. So that's been interesting this week. I don't even know how I started talking
Mm.
about it, brother.
I don't know how you started talking about it either, because my line dropped as soon as we started to get into it. But yeah, man, that I like what you're talking about, just with the AI piece, because man, this thing is like it's a storm, right? And I thought it was interesting also when you started talking about like the almost like the headspace piece of it, because the headspace piece of it, I feel like that's the piece that could possibly be even more challenging, or even dangerous, if you will, because it's like AI is being used to help people facilitate whether or not they are in depression, how to get out of depression, suicidal ideation, you know, bipolarism, just schizophrenia. Just people are going to AI to get answers and expecting for those answers to be exactly what they need. And I don't know. I'm interested in seeing exactly where that's going to go and how that's going to play out. I know Tony Robbins was creating something that was that people could utilize as a therapist, right? Inside of his platform. And so because his idea was um that there was only but so many good therapists, counselors out there, and he wanted to provide
I
a
agree.
good therapist to everyone, you know. And so I was like, wow,
What was it? Was it a
that's
therapist, or was it therapy, or was it coaching? Because I would, I don't think, man, that
no,
therapy one would be hard to kind of give. He was saying therapy.
yeah, but don't quote me on it
Interesting.
though, because I remember the conversation and him being interviewed while he was discussing it. And it was probably last month that I went over it. So, you know, we'd have to double check on that exactly, but I want to say it was your therapist or a counselor, right? It wasn't
Okay.
coach. Um, but man, you know what? It took me somewhere when I thought about it. There was a movie that I had saw, and I think it was like probably Star Wars, maybe. And one of the employees had to go to a therapist, and the therapist was a robot. And obviously with AI, and they were giving them their therapy, and I was like, "Oh snap!" Like the mental image that went into my mind at that moment, and I just thought about it. But on the other hand, I've seen some really crazy things come out of human counselors and therapists, and so it's like it's such a though it is a regulated field based off of your credentials and your history and everything else, I feel like it's almost unregulated in that once you get into that room with your counselor, they can go left all they want to, and you're kind of stuck there in some cases. So I think it's interesting to see exactly where we're going to end up in the next few years, um, because AI is next level, man. It
Oh yeah.
really is. It really is. Hey, did you see there was a there was a post on the news, and it had captured military forces going into a barricaded location, and it shows like an assailant coming out, and then it shows drones going in, and the drones go in and they light up this room. You never see what happens in the room. It's like the assailant comes out and then he goes back into his room to like hide, and the drone just kind of like goes around and it fires off a couple shots. And then after that, it's like the human comes afterwards. He's like clear, and they go to the next spot. And I'm like, oh my gosh.
Which is what I heard someone say about instituting a draft, supposedly, and this is this is totally hearsay because this is not a reliable source.
This came up on my feed yesterday too.
Yeah,
The
so,
draft. It
yeah,
did.
yeah. And I think it's because I'm waiting for a more reliable. So I'm not even going to talk about it. But I did see the one that you're referring to. I saw another one where the drone was like chasing somebody in like a kind of like a hole, like a dugout with. I guess back in remember World War II, they used to have like the trenches.
Foxholes.
So well they had like a trenches in the foxholes, but the drone was like chasing somebody, and this could have been AI. What I do know is that well, what I which is more reliable is that where the military has, and this is, I mean, most of our advancements in modern day society, and it's always been this way, tends to come from the military, right? Our jeans, the clothes that we wear, the the way that it's even this the fashion style comes from it, but the microwave, like a lot of our technology is progressed through, the military industrial complex. So what they're dealing with, and it was interesting too, that's the whole, there's a big smear campaign against Sam Altman because he did get into a defensive contract with the military, where Anthropic was saying that there's certain things that AI shouldn't have access to, specifically like, you know, because apparently every time that it goes through, they ask it different questions, it always escalates to nuclear war. So they're like, yeah, maybe we shouldn't let the computers run it just now. And it's interesting, if you go through some exercises with AI, you'll at sometimes you're like, how did we even get here? Like, how did you get here? Like, where are you thinking about this? And it's based upon how we tend to think. Although I think some of
Mm.
the things we tend to do, we always have that. I think as humans, most of us, anyways, have like a fail safe where we're just like, I'm not gonna take it there. But AI is just so, it could be anyways. How depends on how you train it. Can just be like, okay, well, it's ones and zeros essentially, and this is the optimal and most efficient choice. Although these times are oft, I think we tend to sometimes we'll make the exception as the rule. So like, yeah, 99 times this reaction or this response would be uh well, but there's always that time where you're just like, okay, well, considering all these different factors, and depending on what your standard is, you can say, okay, this is the time, but you shouldn't make a point of it. You know what I mean? You shouldn't make it always being the exception to the rule, which is a whole conversation I had with myself this morning. So yeah, I like, once again, my thing is, I think it's going to be awesome, even in the space of the counseling that you mentioned with Tony Robbins. I think the people who learn to train the AIs, um, and uh, they've been seeing great results on it, and who's training them and how it's being trained. I think it'll be an awesome thing just to not to go to a human. There's some things that some people don't want to share with another human. It just is what it is. And so now when you remove that human, I think a lot of people, because even me with AI, there's things that I'm talking to the AI about that I just don't feel the need to talk to somebody else about. And then there's a time for humans. So I think what's going to be interesting is the huge gap that it's going to create. And I'm looking at what something that Elon Musk said, which was that he didn't say this, but it was another young lady. She mentioned the useless class, which is people who are just going to be living on a universal wage because they're not going to gain the skills. They don't have any want to gain the skills. They don't want to. A lot of people don't want to do these things. They just want to, go to work, come home. They don't want to upgrade their skills. They want to stay in the same spot, and they're comfortable with it, and there's nothing wrong with that. But we're going to see a huge gap between those people who are going to end up accepting this universal wage versus the people who are going to excel within this, whatever the new normal is. And whatever you're comfortable with, how you feel comfortable with it. Maybe there's going to be some people who can kind of be on both sides. I think there always is. But we've seen this from the agricultural revolution, to the industrial revolution, and moving forward. It's just there just becomes a gap because more and more people just don't want to, or they don't see themselves. More and more so, the environment I think is the is going is the determining factor, as opposed to the ability, their abilities. I think most people have the ability to do all these things, but their environment and the people that which is the people, place, and things that they're around, are going to kind of get them into a certain kind of place, and it just becomes generational at that point. So that I think that'll be interesting to see.
Mm. Yeah, I mean, I don't know, man. I don't know how interesting any of this will be. I think being alive is interesting. So I love that. And I'm curious. I am very curious about where this AI is going to take us and what type of generation of people it's going to bring about. I'm curious about it. I'm looking forward to seeing it. I love the ability to use AI in the sense that I do use it. I definitely am interested more into the Claude system. So I've been thinking about diving into that. Haven't gotten into it just yet. But I know that I think I had read somewhere about Claude being placed into some like a sandbox of some sort, impenetrable box. And Claude managed to figure itself out of the box by going through an email to one of the developers. And before the developer knew, Claude was on the outside of that box. And I was like, oh my gosh, Claude got some brass. he's got that Claude system is something else, and so I think that kind of went viral a little bit. Just people starting to get a feel for like what are you really using AI for, and the other thing is these the billionaires, the 100 millionaires, people that are just like well influenced and into AI and into this space of how it can benefit their lives. A lot of these people are doing what the average citizen is kind of doing, quote unquote, with their own chat, alluding to what you had mentioned earlier about how our AI system really is personalized based off of the information that we feed it. So it can be as great, it can be as smart, I guess, as great as we desire it to be based off of the information that we give it, or it can, respond at a very low level based off the information that we give it. Especially, like I noticed one thing with ChatGPT is that if you go behind the scenes and you actually do some programming into ChatGPT, then it will actually respond to you differently. And so that was one of the things that I did because I was tired of getting certain types of responses that were just, so they were just so low level. And I would have to respond back to chat to remind it, hey, don't do this, don't do this, don't do that, don't do that, until I just started to put in those prompts in the back end of chat. And now chat just responds at a much higher intuitive level for me, and I don't know if this is like something that was utilized to because there's some of the systems run off credits and they run off of depending on what level of AI you have. Sometimes it'll use up all of your ability to ask questions. And so the more it drags on, the less you get a good answer. So I took the time to, kind of like bone mine on up, make it a little bit stronger so that I can get stronger answers in the early point. But I noticed that from what I've looked up on Claude, that Claude was like one of those ones that was far ahead. Anyway, I digressed, and I want to get back to my point was that many of the wealthy and influential people are taking the time to put their brains into these systems, and they are naming them after themselves. I mean, this is theirs. Like I know Garrett White just earlier this year, he was selling his own product, right? He's like, you're gonna be able to talk to me 24/7 through my AI system, right? Um, Alex Hormozy, he's got his own. I was on the phone with Les Brown last month, and he's got his own, right? And of course, Tony Robbins has got his own, and most of America is playing inside of Elon Musk's brain right now, right, with ChatGPT, OpenAI. So it's just kind of interesting that these systems are are being integrated into.
Uh-oh. I think the brother will be back. I think when he mentioned the just until he gets back, Grok is Elon Musk's system on X, and then you have Sam Altman, which is interesting. I've been seeing so much more information about him, uh, and of at the beginning of it, Sam OpenAI was supposed to be a not-for-profit, and and that's him. And now I know Elon Musk has a lawsuit against it because he was one of the early founders or he was involved in the OpenAI uh, beginning. And I mean, he's since been kicked out and developed his own one, the Grok one. And now, because it takes so much money
Yeah, thank you
to
for that.
yeah to develop those systems. I mean, these guys are raising hundreds of billions of dollars, like hundreds of billions of dollars, because this is almost like the space arms race. This is the early, like, who's gonna come out on top, right? Before it was Google and Yahoo, and and probably Netscape. I remember Netscape as one of those early um searches. AOL, like, remember AOL? For those of us aging ourselves. And Google ended up coming out on top. It's the ABC company, so they got Google, YouTube, and Google. They're owned by the same company. YouTube is probably one of the biggest. It's like the second biggest search engine. Now you have them moving over, and in my mind, I automatically thought that Gemini would have been, because it has so much information in it. But man, the way that Chat GPT got on the scene, the guy Sam is, whatever they want to say about him, with all the negative stuff, he knows how to raise money some kind of way, as far as being a founder. And then Anthropic came out of nowhere, and they seem to have taken over a space. There's been, I'm telling you, that it's so interesting that a smear campaign, maybe in the last 2 to 3 months, in regards to Claude, and it really started in California with those guys. So yeah, but I noticed you jumped out for a second, and I was just uh as you were coming to make your point about the AI, and I guess the
No,
rich. Go ahead.
no, man, no. I definitely appreciate that, and I appreciate that too. That you corrected me on that on Chat GPT. I was referring to Grok with Elon. So yeah, no, we there. It's and we there, man. We're in that space. We're in that place. I'm for AI, man. I like using it. I do have some concerns with it. I always replay Terminator back in my mind. I'm like, that was AI. You know what I'm saying? So, but um, I think
The
we're here,
Matrix.
and the Matrix, dude. I just watched the Matrix. I just watched part two, which is my favorite Matrix. Is actually part two. I just watched that just a few days ago, like last week. I think I might even saw some of part three. But yeah, the Matrix, that was so good in referencing AI and robots. And I always think about what Elon is doing. I mean, he's got the vehicles, he has the bots, he's got the shuttle, and he's got the AI infrastructure. So he's got the brain. I'm like, this guy is going to go terraform Mars, right? I mean, what's next? He's able to build whatever he wants with that, and he's got the funds to do it, and he's got the mind to do it. So it's really pretty interesting where he might be able to take this to.
Yeah, Elon. And you watch, if you like Elon, watch Elon in South Africa. I think Elon in South Africa is probably like one of the most interesting things just to watch from a human perspective for me. Like his involvement and what he's attempting to do there, and the things that he says about that government, Elon being from South Africa. And so that I think that is super interesting what he has. Definitely figure out a way to get into Elon understands government, right? Like I think there was a person at Toastmasters, Sheila, that spoke to me. She's super successful lady. She ended up selling. Used to sell like packages to hotels, and she would go to like to each hotel. And she said, Michael, at one point in time, I figured, and she passed. I think maybe a couple years ago. She said, Michael, I realized that you don't. It. She was saying how you not to sell to consumers, like selling beat. She said, I would go. I'm going to the mothership. And so, in that same vein, Elon does the same thing. Like a lot of Elon's businesses are like he's figured out a way how to get involved with the government to help the government, which helps to make sure that he has a certain type of check and clearances. Especially look at his connection with NASA and his SpaceX program. And even X, think about how what he did in regards to the last presidential campaign, buying X ahead of time, because what he noticed was a lot of the social media companies were biased towards it in a certain kind of way. And he bought X and opened it up and shrunk the workforce by like 70% and turned it into a profit versus where they had such a high burn rate. So yeah, Elon, like you mentioned, brother, has the brains. It seems like he has the know-how. And he's very vested in a lot of these different things. It's almost like he doesn't care about putting up certain bets. You know what I mean? Like he'll bet his last. Like to us, it's not our last. Like, hey, if we get left with $30 million, we'll be fine. But he'll put it up. But coming from the billions to 30 million, I would imagine that's a huge drop in the type of lifestyle that he's accustomed to, and he's done it several times. So it's definitely interesting to watch all of this stuff, man. I think all of this stuff. I'm with you. I am pro AI. I mean, I wouldn't even get into the depths to where I have a concern about it. I think a lot of these things are like what I would call above my pay grade. So I'm not too exactly worried about it, more so than just trying to understand it. Seeing how it kind of uh, dictates the way that we go and as far as human behavior is, and it's interesting. I was just thinking, as you mentioned Elon too. Elon reminds me probably less charismatic as Tony Stark. Like I'm watching all the Marvel movies, and Elon and Tony kind of seem like similar characters. I mean, who was Jarvis? Jarvis was his AI that eventually went
Mhm.
into Ultron and then turned into Vision, right? All these things were a part of this. Tony's. They started with that Tony's AI, and Vision actually was Tony, David Banner, and all this information. Like he came in and kind of put it together. Whereas, and he was a closed system, whereas Ultron was like an open system, and we saw what happened with Ultron because it was an open system, which is interesting as we watch these different closed systems and open systems. Yeah, a lot going on, man. But what's so funny is that like we just spoke on this for like, and this is for the last 30 to 35 minutes, and we didn't really get into it, like as far as pulling this stuff up and like little things that we're personally interested in, as far as how we probably prompt AI and seeing what it does. And we went on for almost 30 something minutes about it. Like this is how fast like you can kind of to get caught up in it. It just shows you once you put it in front of you, you are able to prompt it in a certain way, and don't let someone show you really how to prompt it to where it's really giving you like these well thought out answers and responses and solutions. Like you can really get into optimizing and being more efficient. And like I said, I would just tell people like just go in and you know I almost like schedule it. You know what I mean? For some people, like just kind of schedule it. Like, hey, spend an hour to 2 hours, whatever it is that you think is sufficient for whatever your lifestyle is, and then kind of just put it away. Just kind of almost similar to how I do my phone calls or my business. Like after a certain time, I'm just like, okay, this is mic time. Like this is I try to like schedule my life in a way to where it's this way. And when I get back to it, like the type of joy that I get out of it, as opposed to, sometimes like for me, I'll like get super deep into something, and then next thing I know it's like 8 hours and I'm mentally exhausted because I'm, me going back and forth with it. So that's
Mm,
my tidbit is just, hey, just schedule your time with it,
mm,
figure it out. There's a lot going on, and see how far you want to go with it. I think it's going to be dope.
mm. Yeah, I think that's a part of life right there. Just learning how to balance out things so that we don't burn ourselves out. Um, and that comes with it. Just seems to me like it comes with every single scenario of life, no matter what it is. Um, just taking that time to really keep yourself aligned and keep yourself grounded, um, and just utilizing the tools the best that you know how, and taking time also to learn more about them. Just learn more about whatever it is that we're doing so that we can be better at it. Hey, let me throw this little plug in while I got an opportunity. Throw this little plug in. How you doing there, Pastor? Next on May the 1st, we'll be having our first event at the O Lab. It'll be from 6 to 8. It'll be a networking event. You can check us out. Go to Eventbrite and you'll find us there. Look up the Opportunity Lab. You can go to the Opportunity Lab on IG. You can go to jsimmons.tenacity on IG. Um, and check us out. Come stop by. Come see what we're doing here at the O Lab. We definitely want to invite you. I know some of these occasions for Community Beacon, we have gone down to like some 30-minute sessions because the brother is trying to, he's been doing all he can do to help me out so that I have a little more time to finish up what I'm doing over here. And I definitely appreciate you, bro. And I'm just looking forward to doing some bigger things here, and I'm looking forward to doing some things with the Community Beacon here too when the time is right. So, like I said, just get that plug in.
Yeah, awesome, awesome. Anything, I think it was time well spent today.
Yeah, man, definitely appreciate you, bro. Every time, all the time, man. Every time, all the time.
All right, people. We will see you next week, God willing, and the creek don't rise. And peace.